So Vivian, I'm very happy to be sitting across from you. And this interview was prompted from something you wrote in an email, which, made me make all these different connections to questions I wanted to ask you. And I'm gonna read just a portion of the email. You said to be a hairdresser is an honor. The power to touch someone's head and transform how they feel about themselves still excites me. That said, I do believe our industry is at a crossroads. So many stylists feel lost. So when I think of feeling lost, that to me often translates to this feeling of self-doubt or self-criticism. How do you see self-doubt commonly show up in hairstylists?
I see it begin right at the consultation, where it's, and I have to tell you, Anne, that even today, because I care so much, I have a whisper of anxiety with a new guest. And that anxiety is actually now my friend because it's saying, don't be complacent. Make sure you do a deep discovery as to who she is. Don't do what you've done in the past because you like it, because that may not work for her. So I think that it's part of who we are. Some become calloused and desensitized. Some don't care enough. Some care too much. Some are too critical. But self-doubt creeps in when you haven't a full discovery as to who is Anne? What are her likes, her dislikes? What is her lifestyle? All of the way that Anne sees herself. My job is to find out as much as I can about you so that I can be the expert to guide you every step of the way. So I believe it starts there. And very often what will happen when we're not comfortable, we lean into the client and the client starts to say, well, I want this here and I want this here. And the client starts to take control. And then what happens is that if it's not managed and carefully balanced, you start to feel like a puppet. And then as the client's pulling your strings, some do it nicely, some do it not so nicely, you start to get self-doubt. You question, well, was my idea okay? And another place, Anne, where self-doubt creeps in is when that client shows you the photograph that they've seen on Pinterest or Instagram, and you're thinking, I wonder how the back is. I wonder how the side is. And is it even real? And then you try and recreate it. And the client fell in love with the totality of the look, that gorgeous face. I've never and had a client come in with a great hairstyle with one may say is an ugly lady. They're always beautiful, right? And we think that if we have that hairstyle, we'll look like that person, but it doesn't happen. And I think those are the seeds of self-doubt today.
And do you see it showing up more often in someone who has less experience, or is this, I mean, I would imagine it's showing up at any time in a career, but where do you see it the most?
Yes, I do see it with youngsters because they're still searching to find their identity, to find their signature look. They're still in that process of building people relationships as well as their technical skills. But we either thrive in uncertainty, which is where I thrive. I love that risk, that adventure, that new, let's try something different. So I like uncertainty, but more people like certainty. I need to know that it's going to work. I need to know that I can trust you. And if I don't, I'm going to take over control. So you have to know whether you as an artist are the person that lives in certainty, where everything has to be correct. And if it's not correct, if the stars are not in alignment, I'm not going to do it. Or, well, let's take a bit of a risk. I like a bit of uncertainty. And you can lose clients on both sides of that fence.
So self-doubt is going to impact your creativity. It's also going to impact your client relations. How is
Oh,
that going to happen?
oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so I can speak from personal experience. Obviously, when I started off at Vidal Sassoons in London, it was a very strong technical time in hairdressing, very, very strong technique. You couldn't hide a mistake. And so we were very technically driven. And so I buried and hid behind technique. And I would be very quiet. And I found a few hairstyles that I like. So everyone got to wear them until one fatal day. I decided, and for many of your viewers, they would go, "What, Viv? A Polaroid camera, right?" I had a Polaroid camera and I took photographs of every single client at the end of the service. And I laid out at the end of the day 8 photographs. And it was actually very interesting because they're physically there. I'm touching them. It's different from, when you're looking on your phone. I look at all 8 of them and they're all the same. And only one person looked good with that hairstyle. Now, was it a good haircut? Yes. Could you have cross-checked that and checked it? And could you have found a mistake? No. Did it suit the person? I think some of them look better before I touch them. So I had this epiphany, and I'm a baby hairdresser. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And then I'm thinking, I got to try harder with my technique, right? And so then self-doubt is definitely my friend. Is I'm carrying it wherever I go. Am I good enough? Do my clients like me? But the clients are not coming back. Now I have another problem. So I'm doing really good work. And now I'm being promoted to being the creative director at Vidal Sassoon. So it doesn't get any higher than that. But I'm not having the retention that I would like. What's the problem? I'm doing masterpieces on the wrong person. And the English lady is so polite. Well, thank you very much. That's lovely. And maybe I'll see you in a year's time when it's grown out. It's one of those jobs. And so that started to happen. And then I thought, right, I'm going to now try and entertain them. I didn't know I was entertaining, but I started to go into the entertainment mode. How are you? And trying to find out about your life and this, that, and the other, and chatty, chatty, chatty. Uh, I was nervous of silence. I'm going to fill the gap and keep talking, talking, talking. Well, as you know, you can only have one conscious thought at a time. So if I'm chatting to you, Anne, about your holiday and your life, what am I thinking about? Am I talking to the hair? Can I have 2 conversations at the same time? Or is one of them automatic pilot? So what started to happen? I started to entertain to try and win the client. And then I discovered there were a few mistakes in the haircuts. Well, I'm horrified. I'm a perfectionist. And so now I'm having this war. So self-doubt is coming in. And I even said to myself when I was young, I don't think I'm cut out to be a hairdresser. How do I entertain the client, do beautiful work? Because I've got to talk to the hair. It's talking back to me, kicking, flipping, lifting, doing what it does. It's having a conversation with me back. So how can I do both at the same time? And that's when I started to realize, oh my gosh, these are horrible things. And we were trained only to do great hair. So I got myself a little index card because I was terribly shy. And on my index card, I wrote my little questions and I would hold my card and I would say to the client, um, what, what is your favorite hairstyle? I mean, the cutest little questions. And they got better as time went on because I didn't know how to open that conversation to discover. I thought I was being nosy.
Hmm. Well, eh, I mean, the way you're describing this conversation you're having with the hair and having to split your focus, I've never heard it before. The hair is talking back to you and you need to pay attention. But ultimately, you develop the ability to do both. But that self-doubt, well, I mean, you're teaching so much, Vivienne, right now, and you're teaching stylists um, how to kind of overcome that self-critic. So what are the strategies that you used and that you now teach to say, here is what I recommend to start banishing self-doubt, or at least calming it a little bit?
Yeah, because the flip side of it is if you don't have that curiosity and that questioning, you can get very complacent and just say, well, no, this is what I do, and this is my style, and get stuck there. And we're in an industry that's always moving forward. And if you're not moving forward, if you're standing still, you're moving backwards. So you've got to, it's that sort of balance, really. I think the first thing is, what do you love doing? If you were to be interviewed, what is your signature look? What is that? Where do you thrive? So that you know that you as a hairdresser what do you love? And is there a long journey with that technique? You know, obviously certain techniques now are starting to say goodbye. So the balayages and the ombres, which have been wonderful, what, 25 years of doing them, they're starting to slowly drift away. They're being adapted. There's creativity, but that ship is sailing. So if you've been the painting queen and you don't really use color, you just use lightener, and that's your brand, be careful, because when the fashion bus drives out of town, you could be left standing with some empty spaces in your day, because that's not the trend anymore. And so I think that self-doubt can sometimes be a friend, but you have to balance it. So what I do when I'm teaching people, I try and find out their style. What is your style? Where do you thrive? Where do you shine? What do you want to do more of? And so I try and get into that, because that then it starts to make your signature look. And we've all got to have our own. I also caution people and I say, you know, when you look on social media, we all love it, but it has to have a balance there. When you see a reel, you're seeing da, 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 done, trick, 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 done. So when I edit my reels, I edit out my mistakes, my stopping, my looking, my self-doubt, my questioning. It's longer on one side than the other. Going back in and fixing. No, what do you see? You see, boom, 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 done. That's not real. That's not real. You didn't see all the things I did to make it be beautiful. So if you watch a lot of it, your brain subconsciously is being conditioned to think that's a reality. Then you get behind your chair and recreate one of those hairstyles. I've done it myself and gone, oh my gosh, she just did that French twist, da 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 da, in 10 seconds. And I'm now 3 hours later trying to recreate what I just saw. And I'm thinking, what did they edit out? Because what they edit out is the secret sauce to making that look. So what happens? Confidence starts to feel a little bit shattered. You're comparing to somebody else. You're living your life through somebody else's eyes. You're not living your life. So be true to yourself and your brand and your identity. Once we've got that sorted out, where's your magic? Now let's be able to deliver that. We're not going to sell to anybody. We're going to serve. And we're going to get it really clear about who is sitting in your chair. And that's where we begin.
I love how you said you work with a student by coming to understand them. And you've developed sort of a tool, a quiz for a little self audit and self discovery. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, in watching hairdressers, and this is really great for salon owners as well, because if you want to sit down and do a little like where are you right now in your career and where do you want to go kind of meeting, which all salon owners dread, but this is a fun way of doing it actually. I've watched hairdressers who've been the puppet, and I've been a puppet not so much in the salon, but on photo shoots. Oh, I want this, I want this, I want this, and I'm trying to please everybody on the shoot, and I feel like a puppet and I feel like my strings are being pulled and I don't believe in myself anymore. Self-doubt is a friend of the puppet, big time. So I've watched that. So when I'm working with a hairdresser and I see that they are such a people pleaser, that they're not taking care of their own inspiration, their own ideas, they're invalidating themselves. There's no playground there for them to expand. So that's the puppet. Then the next one I see, and I see it a lot, because the hairdressers learn this so well, entertaining the client. How are you today? Kissy, kissy, and entertaining them and entertaining them. And it's beautiful. But when you spend so much time entertaining the guests, they love you, they're loyal to you, but the hair suffers sometimes. And the client leaves, and you think inside, you know, should have probably kept that a bit longer. Or, you know, but the client forgives you because she loves you, because she loves how she feels in your presence. So entertaining's wonderful, but I always say to the entertainer, just be okay with some moments of silence. Just say to your client, you know what? I'm going to have a conversation with your hair for a moment. I'm not sulking. I'm just going to talk to the hair for a moment because this is really difficult what I'm going to do. And I need you to be super still. And then we'll pick up the conversation afterwards. So this is how I coach the entertainer. Then we have, and I know this one so well, the technician. everything must be perfect. Everything is very like exact. There is very in my head. It's systems, it's analytical, it's the science, it's the all the juicy stuff, and it's the perfection, right? The technician. The danger of the technician is that they get so caught up in the detail, they create this masterpiece, the client stands up and walks away. You go, oh my gosh, that's too short or too whatever, because you didn't look at the big picture. The artist, that's the fourth avatar. The artist is the feel, is the emotion, it's the inspiration. Oh, the creative juices are flowing. Oh, I'm feeling the vibe. The problem can be when you're very much that way, is that you don't always feel the same emotion when you next see the client sitting in your chair. And you may say to yourself, how did I do that last time? I don't remember. Because inspiration, intuition, the artistry, the creativity was the juice. Now it's hard to recreate. And I have had that experience many a time, even with my own photographs, where someone said to me, I'd like that hairstyle. And I look at it and I go, I don't even know how I did it. And because I video so much of my work, I literally will go into my video library and actually watch what I did, because I have no memory of how I did it, because I was inspired. I was in my gut. I was in my heart, and my head was not even there. So out of balance, it can get you into trouble. And then, of course, we have the pedestal. And the pedestal is somebody who has a balance of all four of those archetypes. They know how to serve and take care of their client. They know how to be technical. They know how to be artistic. They know how to entertain and engage, and they have it in balance. But the danger with the pedestal is, where do you go next? And you know what, Anne? The saddest thing that I've seen over my long career, it kind of hurts. I've seen some great hairdressers. Some of them have passed away, and I knew them so well, and they were so famous, and they couldn't handle their success. And they self-sabotaged.
Mhm.
And I can see their faces now. I adored them. I loved them. Many of them, I would just say, I would just praise them. And in the private times we had together, I would see the other side. And I would see how either alcohol or drugs or partying or whatever all got out of hand, and the demand got so great. One very famous person who shared publicly, his challenges, the late Trevor Sorby, he shared it on television. So I'm not speaking out of turn. I remember one year he did 50 TV shows. He won the British Hairdressing Award. He was like the standing ovations. And he said to me, Viv, I can't do it anymore. And I saw him spiral down. And I used to say, Trev, let's go out there and have fun. You've killed the fun, Trev. So I've seen it all. So the two, each one is wonderful in balance. Each one is dangerous out of balance. But when you know who your staff are, you can speak to them through the voice of the entertainer. You can speak to them through the voice of the technician, because that's how they hear. Yeah, I live in my head. No, I live in my heart. So you speak their language and just say, how are we going to coach to find balance? Because when you do that, you can be free behind your chair, and your clients want authenticity.
Thank you for this. This is so valuable, and I'm going to make sure to share a link so that people can access this, because in addition to, as you said, leaders being able to coach, understanding where their service provider is coming from, for the stylist, that self-awareness is also so valuable. And you are somebody that has synthesized those, you maybe identify with one very strongly, but obviously over your career, you have created a beautiful mesh of all those things. And I'm so grateful for your time, Vivienne, and
Pleasure.
for just this conversation, which was just prompted by a quick little email. So thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anne.